So I don't know how my husband does this. And then I have the kids, so, pretty much guarantees the interruption. But I have to share something that's been in my spirit for a few weeks now. I don't know. It's been in my spirit. So the first thing is that God's success is go. What that means is that when he tells you to do something, you have reached the ultimate success when you actually move when he says to do it. That means that, and you have to forgive the noise in the background. My kids are watching Like Mike. Hey, if you 90s kids, shout out to Bow Wow. Shout out to the A in Ohio, if you want to claim that, but whatevs. Anywho, so as I was saying, my face is just stressing me today. It's stressing me. I also didn't plan on being on camera, but we'll see if this gets said. But yeah, God's successes go. So as I go, because the light just turned green. But when he says go, your success, your job, your assignment in that moment is to do what he says to do. Like, not to ask questions, not to make it make sense, not to offer him suggestions, not to negotiate. Go. Simple. It's 2 letters. Go. G-O. And your response should be okay or yes. Those are your 2 options. Okay or yes. And that's if you want to really be living a life of willing obedience, right? Ash, brother, sleep. Hush. Oh, not anymore. Who woke him up? So this morning, my husband and I were talking, and I can't even tell you the full context of the full conversation, but he said one thing, and it stuck with me, and I was just like, about lost it. Because he was like, so, as if you've been following me or if you know what's going on, God has us moving again. We move about every 3 to 6 months, I promise. Like, the military didn't move us this much, but we're in the army of the Lord now, so that's what we're doing, right? But in all seriousness, he has us moving about every 3 to 6 months. It's not always a major move. Sometimes it is. This time, I don't know. I feel like we know even less and less every time we move, but nonetheless, like, first he had us move from Augusta to Atlanta, then he had us move from Atlanta to here in California, but we moved about twice while in Atlanta, and then we have moved twice now being here in Cali, and we moved twice here being in Cali, and this is about to be number 3. We don't know where we're going, if we're leaving Cali or not. All of this is supplemental because it's not the point that I want to make. My husband said something that led to him talking about, it doesn't even matter, I don't know. But the part that stuck out to me was, you don't know if you're packing to get on the ark like Noah. And I was like mind blown. Like, I don't even know if he know what he just said. You don't know if you're packing to get on the ark. So many times we struggle with obedience, and especially when it's God telling us to move or God telling us to go somewhere to do something, and you have so many questions. You want to offer up your suggestions as if you know what he's preparing you for, or where he's telling you to go, or the consequence, whether negative or positive. Consequence can be both, right? Either or both. But you don't know what's on the other side of his telling you to go. So in this instance, he's telling us to move. Now, some might say that's unstable for the kids. Some might say that is it because of finances? We know it's expensive in California. We know y'all had the issue with the bank. If you've been following my husband, you can surmise a lot of things with our very limited human knowledge. And the answer is that it's all wrong. Because if it is finances, God put us in that position. If it is our kids need stability, God is their stability. Their parents are their stability. It's not our job to rationalize and make logic out of what he's told us to do. It's our job to say yes. It's our job to pack because he said go. It's not our job to ask him where are we going and why. It's not our job to ask what is the assignment and did we complete our assignment here. It's not our job to suggest that we wait a few weeks because I don't know, something I'm doing here isn't until the 12th of January. So this is really bad timing and we'll move when that time comes. No. Our job is to simply say okay or yes. Pack our things because he said go. I remember when I first encountered this whole situation back in 2019. The first time was he told me to leave my job on the day that I just returned back from winter break, and to give no 2 weeks notice to leave effective immediately. In my head, I said, okay, well, I'm making almost 5 figures a month, so that just means whatever you're going to do on the other side, you're going to replace my income immediately. That was my limited thinking. That was me thinking that God worked like that. I was absolutely wrong, and that's fine. I was wrong, but he still got my obedience out of it. Then he told me to write my book. I wrote my book. And I had a billion questions, like how, what about, all these questions, all these people at this post office. My Lord in heaven, clear somebody out these. Oh my God, he heard me. He heard me. I didn't even get the prayer out. A car that I can't even see because it was like further up between two cars. Jesus. You am Mother Mary of Christ. Some joker just took that parking spot. That's all right. God got something for you. But I mean, she saw me going for it too, and she just straight jacked that. God don't like ugly. But nonetheless, so let me see. I'm about to park in this no parking spot and just run in, and they just gonna have to deal with it because I'm blocking traffic. And I'm about to make a turn that I shouldn't be taking. But it is what it is right now. Anywho, back to my story. So I was writing a book, and God told me to stop asking questions because me asking questions was delaying what he wanted to do. And the reason why was because I didn't need to know more details. And I know why this happened. I know why it happened. God, you're funny. He wants me to finish this video. So I didn't know, I didn't need to know what was on the other side of my obedience. I didn't need to know the whys or the hows or the whats. I didn't need to have the answer to any of my questions. All he wanted me to do was start writing. That's all he told me to do was write the book. He didn't tell me to write the book. He just told me to write. And so what did that look like? I started journaling. I started collecting blogs. I started collecting information. I just started writing whatever he put on my heart, and it made no sense. 0 cents, zilch nada. It didn't matter because he just told me to write. And so I started writing, and it wasn't until several weeks later that he revealed that I was writing a book. And then literally like 2 months or less later, the book was finished because I was obedient. And what I also didn't know was that book was going to be the nickels and dimes that I needed to survive for the next 6 months, because he had us moving from Augusta to Atlanta. And during that time, I didn't have any income. He had told me to leave my job. I had all the money from my last couple paychecks had been spent on living, and it just made sense, right? So, but I mean, it didn't make sense. But what made sense was, I know you're not. But what made sense was, so I needed to add append a annotation to my video. So I was trying to actually remember my train of thought before I lost it. The first time we actually went through this was when we were moving from Augusta to Atlanta. But listen to this. So what actually happened was, God told me that it was time to move to Atlanta. My husband and I had been going through a separation that we just got back together, and then at the same time my husband was preparing to move to Atlanta, and we didn't know that we were both planning to move to Atlanta, but we got back together because he told us to, because God told us to. I mean, anyway, I'm not explaining all that, but anyway, so we got back together, and God told us time to move to Atlanta. So at the same time, yeah, so we just got back together, and God told us to move. This was also after he had called me out of my job. This was also coming up on the end of our lease when we were living in Augusta. And I think that speaker may be loud. Okay, so we were supposed to be moving. It was coming up on the end of our lease. Our lease ended in March, and this was in January, where God said, you're going to move. So we're preparing to move, and also, as I said, so he told us to move from, he told us that we would be moving to Atlanta. He also told me to leave my job, and he also told me to write this book. So, and I'm about 10 weeks pregnant at this time with our second baby. So in the midst of all of this, I'm crying probably about every other day, because I'm like, how am I supposed to do all of this? Like, we're dealing with, I've, left my job. Anthony's left his job. Anthony ended up having a mental illness breakdown situation. I'm pregnant, and I'm not working, and he's telling us to move, right? So the question was, how are we supposed to do this? We have all of these things going on. How? Where are we moving to? With what money? We couldn't get approved for a house because actually, I don't know why at that time, but we got approved. That was an issue. So we got approved for houses, but the amount we got approved for was like, you're telling us to move to Atlanta. What kind of house are we gonna get with this amount? A paper box? Not even a cardboard. Paper box? Like, so we have all this going on, and the question is, what are we supposed to be doing? How to even make this happen? So I'm asking God every day, and this is our first time in and this is our first time in an act of faith, in an act of true radical and rapid obedience. And we didn't know what it looked like. We didn't know what to expect. We didn't know anything. So the question was, how in the world are we supposed to do this? And the funny thing is, this same part came on when I was talking earlier, and that's how we felt. Every time we feel like we're about to lose our minds. Rest in peace, DMX. But we felt like we was about to lose our mind. We was about to go all out. Like, this is ridiculous. But in real life, we had all these things going. We didn't know what to expect. We didn't know how this was supposed to work. We didn't know what this looked like. But all he wanted us to do was pack. All he wanted me to do was write. All he wanted us to do was to trust him and to trust each other, since we had just gotten back on this, since we had just gotten back together and on the faith journey, all of this all at the same time. It was a lot. It was a lot. And we had excuses and we had reasonings, and they were all valid as to why in the world would we, at this point in time of all times, trust him and say, okay, whatever you want. We'll move to Atlanta. We'll leave everything that we've known and built, our parents, our houses, our familiarity, all of that. We'll leave it. I'd already left my job. Anthony already felt unstable because of everything that was going on with his mental health. Sorry about that. That was my son. So I had to add that annotation. The first time that we stepped out on faith was that he backed every step of the way. He was my provision. He was my guidance. He was my my compass. He was everything that I needed for me to be obedient, because he gave me the vision. He gave me the instruction. He told me to go. I started writing when he said go, and everything else followed behind. It wasn't my business what was on the other side of that obedience. It was my business to say okay or yes, because fast forward now, it's a lot easier for us to say yes and okay when he tells us to do stuff, simply because we've been through this before. We've stretched this muscle. We flex this muscle. This is what we do. We say okay, we say yes, and we go. And it's this time where we're on move number 16,542, and we don't have no questions. We just said, he said pack up, and he said move, and we packed up and moved. He did the same thing when we sold our house that we had just bought in Atlanta. You can't ask questions. You just go. And that's what God wants from us. He wants that rapid obedience instead of that human flesh reaction that says, let me ask 11 questions to find out more information before I make this move. That's not faith. That's not willing obedience. That's me knowing, me needing to know what's going on so that I can make a logical decision of whether I'm gonna do it or not. That's not how God works. And if you think that you're giving him honor, and you think that you're praising him and giving him the what's it called, like the reward or acknowledgement to say that, oh, this was God, you're in disobedience. That's not God. That's actually, we're not going to go there today. That's actually a sin. Disobedience is a sin. And faith is the only thing that pleases God. So if God is telling you something and he's telling you to move right now, he's telling you to do something right now, your only answer should be okay and yes. And you move and do it. Don't ask no questions, because he knows the bigger picture. You don't. So there's no reason for you to know it. He's in control. There's no reason for you to ask questions. He knows what the next step is. You just make sure that you're having a barometer check every step of the way and saying, okay, I did this, now what? And then your next answer is okay. Your next answer is yes, Dad, yes, Father, yes, God, yes, Lord, yes, Jehovah, yes, Elohim, yes, El-Shaddai. Whatever you want, whatever you're asking of me, I will do. That's what it's like to live a life of faith. That's what it's like to be in obedience. That's what it's like to be a follower and disciple of God. You have to let go of the questions and the logic and all these things that are holding you hostage from moving when he tells you to move. I'm gonna tell you who else needs to move. These people on my parking spot. I don't know if I feel like I got it out, God. I don't know what else you want me to say. What else you got for me? So back to the Noah's Ark. You don't know if you were preparing to build an ark, to build a wall. You don't know what you're preparing for. You don't know what his directive is preparing you for or setting you up for. and that's not for you to know, because some of us can't hold water. Let's start there. Some of us can't hold water, and as soon as God was to tell you what he wants you to do or give you an instruction, or if he gave you the whole plan, you're either gonna say no, or you're gonna be like, hey, yo, y'all hear this? This is what's going on. God gave it to me. And you're either gonna look crazy, or God's gonna be like, that wasn't for this time. That wasn't for you to go and telling everybody about right now. That's not what this was for. So God knows how much to tell you. God knows how much he can trust you with. And that's the thing. You want to be trusted by God. Forget you trusting him. Yes, you need to trust him. But if he trusts you, then you've unlocked the keys to the kingdom. Like, that's it. If God can trust you to even tell you to move and know that you're not going to ask no questions and know that you're just going to say yes and you're going to move, that's the move of God you want in your life. As I told someone else, we're not in the business of giving God our suggestions, because we don't be knowing what we're talking about. Like, let's start there. We don't know what we're talking about. We're not in the business of giving God our human logic for why our ideas or our suggestions or our plans and our will and our vision makes more sense than his. Heck no. That's not what we're doing over here. That's not what we're doing. I'm actually going to share the response that I sent to somebody, probably in, not WhatsApp. Is that WhatsApp saying? What's up, Karen? What's her name? What's up, Super Simp? Anywho. Well, what's up, Zam? I don't know her name. Anyway, I'm going to share that response because I think somebody else needs to see this in their life. Because the problem is, too many of us believe that we can give God a suggestion. We believe that if we can't see it and we can't formalize a logical reasoning for something that he's told us to do, then we're just going to sit on it and wait until he tells us, until it makes sense for us. We're just going to wait it out. And that's not how faith works. Yes, there's times that we're waiting on the Lord to move. And even that's about a posture of what you're doing while you're waiting. That's one side of it. But when he gives you something to do or he tells you something, then there is no waiting. Delayed obedience is still disobedience. Delayed obedience is still disobedience. If he tells you to do something and you say, all right, I'm going to do it when, you've missed the window of opportunity. God bless you, sir. Looking like Santa. I wish I could turn this camera around. Bless his heart. He was carrying at least 2, 4, 6, 7 boxes into the post office. In case you didn't know, I'm here to mail off a book. I'm so excited because I haven't done a post office run for mailing off my book in forever. But anywho, I hope this helps somebody today. And yeah, I hope this helps somebody today. So God's successes go. You don't need an explanation. You don't need to know next steps. You don't need to know nothing else. You just say yes. Okay, start packing. Simply put, start packing. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to come back and tell the story of when we sold our house. But start packing. Start packing. Because you don't know if you're packing to move on to the ark. Before God sent the flood, he told Noah to build an ark. What if he's told you to build an ark and you've been building it this whole time and you don't even know it? And now he's telling you to move on to it because a flood is coming. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, a flood is coming. He's been telling me for God knows how long, and I haven't even shared it. And it's not, I don't know, I'm just not that type of person, I guess. And I'll probably will get better with that when he tells me to. But a tsunami is coming to California. I'm just going, simple as that. Tsunamis come to California. A flood is coming. I don't know when, I don't know how, I don't know if he means literally in the natural or supernaturally. But a flood is coming. A tsunami is coming to California. And if he's telling us to pack, because we potentially may be moving to get on the ark right now, I don't know. Don't take that as Sierra said. No. One thing he did tell me, a tsunami is coming. Gave me a dream the other night that the time is now. And all I heard him saying was, it's the time is now, the time is now, the time is now. I don't know what that actually means. But if somebody tells you now, that means urgently. What did you just do to him?
I didn't do anything. I said that you may see.
I just saw you looking at him. Hold on, I have to go mail this stuff off.
Okay, I got it.
And then everybody be thinking about what y'all want to eat for lunch.
Okay.
All right.
I'm not.
So he said the time is now. So if God is telling you to do something, if you feel it in your spirit that God has been telling you to do something right now, your only job, your only assignment, your only response should be, okay, yes. And start doing it now. Because he said, it is time. It is time. It is time. He could be telling you to pack for the ark that will save you from what's coming and from what he is about to do, because judgment day is coming. I did say that. Judgment day is coming. And with that, you hear these kids, that means my time is up. So I'll probably chop this up because I don't think y'all want to hear all this. So we'll see how it goes. All right, people, be easy. Yeah, so God said to move, we packed. I asked him, I said, where are we going? How are we going to afford? You know, can I have more instructions on what we're doing? Let me tell you how thank you, Aria. Thank you so much. Let me tell you how it wasn't until, what was it, like 6 months? It was 6 months from the day we moved out before we had a house, before we were living anywhere. Like, let me give you this quick timeline. So from January to March, he's told us to leave our jobs, told me to write my book.
Stop it!
Kobe told us to move, that we were moving to Atlanta. He didn't give us a timeline. He didn't say when. All we knew was our lease was up at the end of March. And ends weren't meeting even then. It was a mess, a whole mess. And I'm asking him questions every day, and he's silent. No answers. Because I kept asking questions. No answers. So all he said, I told you you're gonna move. So what do you do when I say move? You know you have to pack. You have that part is common sense. So we pack up, prepare to move. The day comes, we spend a week in a U-Haul going back and forth between Atlanta and Augusta trying to figure out where we're supposed to move to. Come to find out, he says, not come to find out, but next thing he says, you know, put your things in storage. So we did that. So we put all our things in storage in Atlanta, with the anticipation that, okay, we'll find our place sometime soon, right? We had no idea how long we were gonna be in storage, but we can't drive around in a U-Haul. We can't do that. So we do all that just to go back to Augusta still empty-handed. Mind you, I have a growing baby in my womb, and we have no answers for what's going to go on. Fast forward March to April, May, June, July. Our baby girl was born in July. We still are without a home. We're staying with his parents. I have fallen out with his parents. So I've run away pretty much. The story gets crazy. And I'm still trying to be gentle and be cognizant of my husband's still in recovery. All of these things, right? So that was July. August, September, October. Anthony finally gets a job in Atlanta, and God says, now is the time. So he gets a job in Atlanta, and we're finally out of his parents' house. And so we move up to Atlanta, and once again, we think, okay, so we're just gonna, be able to just hop into a house or an apartment or something, because we've been without for the past 6 months. We have a newborn baby. Literally, the day that I had our second born, we were in the hospital, and in my mind, I was begging that they kept me longer than a day, because we didn't know where we were gonna go. We had no idea. We are praying like, okay, God, make this miracle happen. Something has to happen. They dismiss us discharge us from the hospital, and we're driving around, and we're like, where do we go with this newborn baby? Because we don't have anywhere. I've fallen out with his parents. We can't go back there. My mom didn't live there anymore at the time, so it's not like we can go to her house. I'll continue this story after we go and pick up Anthony. So I feel like I'm gonna have to need this story for another time. So I might as well just finish it out now. Ignore my hair, because 1, kids. 2, I've changed my look 3 times every time since I've recorded, but we're gonna keep going. So anyway, I could have kept going straight. Oh well. So, hospital. I'm in my head just praying that they keep me longer than 24 hours. I am notorious and have been graced and blessed to have easy, quick labor and delivery births. So I just pop them out, and I look completely normal right after. So I give birth, and they're like, all right, well, you're good, but the baby has to stay for the 24-hour check. That's the only reason you're still here. And in my mind, I'm like, not that I want anything to be wrong, but we ain't got nowhere to go. So we leave, and because we're discharged, and we have to figure out what next. And I'm talking about, we're in prayer. We're talking things out. We are driving around the city like it's the doggone wall of Jericho, asking for it to Ashley, leave the cup alone. Driving around 7 times, waiting for some walls to fall down. We were literally waiting for a miracle, and a miracle didn't happen. We had to go back to Augusta, and I gave birth in Atlanta, so that was a 2-hour drive. And so we go back home to Augusta, and we sit it out. So that was us waiting the time from July until Anthony getting a job. So he gets the job in September, October-ish, and then we wait. I don't know if you've seen the movie The Terminal. I love that movie. With Tom Hanks, I love that movie. It's so good. So we sitting there waiting. I can't remember. Victor, can't even remember his last name or pronounce it right now. But whiskey or something like that. But we're just waiting. Nothing else we can do. And where are we waiting? In our car for 3 months with a newborn. So it was between him getting his job in September, October. I want to say it was September, because I think we were in our car from September to December. I think we were in our car from September to December, waiting for a move of God. And when I tell you that this journey is all about perspective, we had to find the blessing. So we're waiting in the car, and when I tell you you're on this journey, you have to find ways to build yourself up. You have to find ways to be thankful. You have to find ways to really make sure that you're not all the way insane. But he was blessed with a job that paid him weekly. He was blessed with a job that he was allowed to get overtime and get paid for that overtime. And I would always say, I mean, shoot, you ain't got nowhere else to go. We sleeping in the car, so get that overtime. At least you inside in some AC or heat, you know, depending on if it was a hot or cold day. It was a fall and it was the perfect weather, so we were grateful for it being the perfect weather in Atlanta. It wasn't extremely like cold, it wasn't extremely hot, it was in the fall. Like, there were small things that we had to be grateful for, but those are big things when you're not in any other, you don't have any flexibility in your situation, you know. But that was us in faith though. So from January until December, okay, I'll put it this way. From January to December, I can't see these lights. That's one thing, because the sun is blaring and these brakes suck. Now my eyes have to readjust. But anyway, so from January to March, we're asking questions, getting no answers. We didn't know that RES was going to lead to us living with his parents for 6 months, basically getting kicked out of there. Then, because we had no plan, they didn't understand that our plan was whatever God's plan was, and when he gives us the next step, then we move then. And until then, we wait. And that's fine. We don't expect anybody else to understand. We do what we have to do. And that's whatever he tells us to do. So that was January to March, asking a bunch of questions. March to October, staying with his parents. And, you know, that came with a handful of things on its own. And then October to the week before Christmas, I'm talking about even Thanksgiving, staying in a hotel. My mom, you know, came out from from Missouri at the time to spend Thanksgiving with us, and it was because of her that we were able to at least have a nice Thanksgiving dinner at Cracker Barrel. But we did that, and then we still waited in the car. Actually, after that, after she came, God upgraded us to hotels. Hey. So we stayed in hotels for like the last, I want to say month maybe. Yeah, it's a month between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So about 3 weeks to 4 weeks, we were staying in a hotel until he blessed us with keys to our apartment. And that's what our first year walking this out looked like. That's what our first year of faith and obedience, willing obedience, standing firm, not budging, not going with our own logic, not going with our own plan, not moving when it got hard and it didn't make sense, not giving him our suggestions, not going back on our word and our promise to follow him. That's what that looked like the first year. And that was back in 2019. And here we are in 2022, about to go into 2023, on our like third or fourth move. It's not that it's gotten easier, we've gotten used to it. We have more wisdom, we have stronger faith, we have less questions. Well, we know when to ask questions and what questions to ask in prayer. Our marriage and our communication, we trust each other on a whole different level. Our kids trust us. Our kids are seeing us walk this out and seeing what it looks like when God says build an ark. They're watching what it looks like when he says build a wall. They're watching what it looks like when he says to wait. They're watching what it looks like to be obedient and to believe that our Father is not a deadbeat dad, that he takes care of his children, and just as much as they're our children, we're his children, and we're all his children. I always say I want to have the anointing of my oldest daughter, because whatever she says happens, like almost instantaneously. It's ridiculous. And it's funny because I said that probably about 3 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, if even that long ago. And as soon as I said it, I feel like almost everything that I speak has come to fruition. But that girl has faith and understanding and wisdom of this journey and of who God is and who Jesus is like no other. And that's because, not because we've forced it on her, but because she's watched us. And why is this window still? Oh, the back window? There we go. She's watched us and she's developed her own relationship. She's developed her own understanding of what's going on around her. And more importantly, it's not just lip service for our family. We live out this thing. What we say, what we do is the same thing. It's consistent. You're not going to catch us flipping, flopping. You're not going to catch us making up our own logic and going our own way. If he didn't say it, we didn't say it. We're not saying it. If he didn't tell us to go, we ain't going nowhere. We're staying put. What Anthony says on his videos, what I'm saying in these videos, it's what he's told us. And that's it. Don't ask me what I think about this situation, that situation, and politics, this, that, and the other. Whatever the Bible says, that's what I say. Period. Whatever Jesus says to me, whatever God says to me, whatever Holy Spirit says to me, that's what y'all gonna get. Me, whatever I think, y'all not gonna hear it. If God didn't say it, I don't know. I don't have a brain at this point. If the Bible don't say it, I don't agree with it. If the Bible says it, that's what I agree with. That's literally it. So I say all that to say, again, God says go, you go. You don't worry about what's on the other side. That's none of your business. Handle that go. If he says move, pack. If he says write, get a pen and paper, your notepad on your phone, start writing. Don't know what you're writing? Don't worry about it. That's not your business. Write what he tells you, whatever he puts on your heart, because if he told you to write, he's got something for you to say. Stop, Ash, I hear you. And right now, what I'm telling you is, the Lord has told me that a tsunami is coming. Torrential rains, a downpour, floods. I can't tell you how many dreams I've had of water. I can't tell you. And it ain't no little water. I'm talking about one dream, our van drowned when we were trying to get the heck about out of Dodge. But notice I said it was the van and not us. The van drowned, and me and Anthony were as cool and calm as, you know, as if nothing was happening. Cool and calm. And we walked up out that thing dry with all of our babies. And we looked around and it was like a ghost town. And the people who were still there were acting like nothing happened. But it was a flood. And that flood was coming and took over everybody. I'll take that back. He didn't take over everybody. I'll tell you who was left. Those who were following God. Those who had made their choice and had his protection and their covering. Because as I've said before, Judgment Day is coming. He said the time is now. It is time. So if you haven't repented, if you haven't chosen who you're going to follow, if you haven't chosen who you're going to believe and have faith in, if you still on the fence and you still, you know, going back and forth, trying to listen to, I don't know why I want to say soothsayers, but psychics and people who are of the occult, witchcraft, all that junk. If you still trying to red. Okay. Oh, that was the other side. No, I was going on a green arrow. Don't ask me why. But I don't know what I was saying. Build the ark. Get the heck up out of Dodge. Be safe. Without faith, it is impossible to please God. Faith without works is dead. So what that means is, if faith is without faith is impossible to please God, and faith without works is dead, then I'm gonna tell you this. With that faith, stop the lip service. Be obedient. You have to move in faith. You have to act out what he's telling you in faith. You have to walk. You have to run. You have to move in obedience. And that is the measure of your faith. No, I'm back in. That is the measure of your faith. So, he's speaking to some of you, and I highly suggest you listen. Build your ark. Pack. Get ready to get on your boat. Because the flood is coming. The tsunami is coming to California specifically. I hope you're ready. All right.